Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for helping with my project. I
Yeah,
wonder if we could start off by you saying a little bit about yourself.
sure. I'm Caitlin Benva. I'm going to graduate college hopefully in 2 months here now. So I'm a senior in mechanical engineering, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I'm currently in Texas. I've had two internships with Blue Origin, and after this past one in the summer, they just couldn't let me go. So they asked, because school's remote, that I stay down here. So now I'm on my third rotational internship with Blue Origin, doing school full time and doing this internship with test engineering down here at the West Texas launch site, which is where we launched New Shepard from. I wasn't really interested in aerospace until I went to college and I stumbled across an aerospace student organization. And I thought that you just had to be born a genius to become an aerospace engineer. And like you just came out and your parents knew that you were going to be genius rocket science baby. But after I found this club when I was in college, I realized it's just a bunch of kids that are really passionate about something. And that's really what sparked my interest. So I stopped taking internships. I did internships in like large engine, deep pit mining, consumer products. I did safety and security systems. And then I switched to aerospace and I'm not going back. But yeah, so I have a mutual friend with you on LinkedIn that shared your post. And so I like them and I thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to help you out.
I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
before COVID, I was interviewing people at coffee shops and on the streets, and going up to random strangers and saying, "Hey, can you talk to me?" It's not as safe as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it must have really changed it, I guess. In my mind now, my first thought was, oh, you could just go into online video game lobbies and just ask in the general lobby, does anyone want to talk about space? And I'm sure you'd get hundreds of hands, but a little
Yeah,
different.
that's an awesome idea. Um, yeah, I haven't really played many like online video games. I tried a few Discord channels
Yeah.
that I'm a part of, and I got a few people there, but um, I think it really helps to be part of the community to get people to respond.
There's actually a Blue Origin gamer Discord that if I could find your link again for those signups, I could probably put it in there. We've got around like 200 people that are very active in there. So I wonder if any of them have seen this link before. I'll share it in there.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The West Texas test facilities out there in Van Horn,
Yeah.
Texas.
Yep.
And what is it like out there? I mean, I've, yeah.
It's awesome. It's much smaller than if you've ever interviewed anyone from the SpaceX facilities or other facilities that might be in remote locations. It's much smaller personnel wise, but it's quite a lot of land. So you cannot see it when you're driving from the highway. So you drive, it's a beautiful stretch of land, right all the way up until work. And you would not be able to tell unless we were testing because the BE3 creates rain clouds. So unless it suddenly rains on your car, you can't tell it's out there. But it is a very, very large facility. There's currently two functioning engine test facilities. So the BE4 test facility is for Zeeks, and that is our large engine, so the 550,000 pound force engine. And then the BE3, which is a little closer to the road, and that tests at the Geeks testing facility. We also launched New Shepard from there. So anytime you ever hear about a Blue Origin launch that's happening, it's happening right outside my window pretty much. They're really cool. And then we're making more facilities right there, which is what I'm working on. So second stage New Glenn testing capabilities. So
Are there like housing on site, or is there like places to live near Van Horn?
there's a mixture. So when the site originally started, it was much less than 50 people. And I think in the very beginning, so around 8 years ago, no one lived down here permanently. It was more like we owned the land. And because the company's been very small for a very long time, if the people in Kent wanted to do testing, they'd have to come down and they either rented a hotel in Van Horn, which is about 40 minutes south of the actual testing site. And
Wow.
then Jeff actually made something called the Corn Ranch, which is housing. It's free housing for employees. It's got like a pool and a kitchen and stuff. But I'm guessing originally that held everyone. Now they want to encourage people to not have to live as remote. So there's a lot of houses in town. They've built some pretty nice houses. I would say majority of people live together in houses down here because we work on a 9-5 rotation. So 9 days of work, 5 days off, or some other combination of those. So some people live here only for the 9 days. They live with like 5 other guys in a house, and then they go home wherever home is over the 5 days. But I live here full time. So
Well, the 9-5 sounds nice.
yeah.
It's like um
Yeah.
and so it's kind of interesting. I mean, just thinking about like the places where Blue Origin's facilities are. I have the North Houston Space Society club that I put together, and we had a project manager from like oil and gas who was always wanted to make the transition to aerospace.
Yeah.
And then earlier this year, the economy helped him make it quicker.
Yeah.
So he's
Uh,
working at Jaw's Huntsville facility
oh, that's
over
so
there.
cool. Yeah, it translates really well. People don't. I interviewed at some point for a petroleum company, and they were like, "What could aerospace possibly know?" I'm like, "Well, we do what you do, just like an added layer of complexity, which is testing a rocket engine as opposed to just creating a chemical and sending it off. Like we create the chemical and then we send it to an engine." So yeah,
Like instantly over.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So my understanding is, based upon the news reports, is that that area will be producing the BE4 engines that'll be used for like the Vulcan rocket and New Glenn and those engines. Now, maybe you can't tell me this, but if the test facility is in West Texas and
Mhm.
y'all follow a similar pattern as SpaceX does with McGregor, then
Mhm.
does that mean like the BE4s have to go from Huntsville all the way out to West Texas, get tested, and then go out to like Florida in order to get integrated with our for launch?
Yeah, that's a good question. So originally, there's only been a couple of BE4s, and they were development BE4s. Those were made in the Kent headquarters. And yes, every time those were tested, we would hire 2 truck drivers pretty much to drive down nonstop. So they wouldn't stop anywhere. Like one guy would sleep and they'd wake up and they'd come bring it down to test. And the difference between the Texas testing facility for the BE4 is it's a horizontal testing facility. It is not a vertical testing facility. And that's really great if you're in the development phase, but it's not as good if you want to understand the flight profile of the engine. So we've done some testing to kind of mock that, but clearly we don't have a BE4 vertical test stand. We have a BE3 vertical test stand, which can do the entire development to ATP to ready to test. We take it off of New Shepard right where it lands. We put it back on the testing stand. We put it back. That's 55 feet tall. So to build one that could test the BE4, the vertical height it would need an elevator, is the best way to say how much we would need. So Huntsville does both manufacturing of the new BE4s as well as we've purchased NASA's old historic, I don't know the actual name of the vertical test facility, but we've purchased their old vertical test stand that they used for development of the Apollo program. So that is where we will do vertical testing of BE4s. So anything that we'll need for like small level rapid testing, because it's much easier to take an engine horizontally and kind of lift it like 20 feet off the ground than it is to get a whole crane and put it on a big vertical test stand and take it off. That'll still happen in Texas, but all of the vertical testing that's going to go straight to a New Glenn rocket will happen at the Huntsville test site. So anything that's development phase is going to happen B4 in Texas. Anything that's going to go straight onto like the Vulcan or the ULA, sorry, the BE4 is going to go on New Glenn. That will happen in Huntsville. So yeah, it'll ship straight from the Huntsville site to Florida and get integrated on New Glenn, 7 of them to go on the New Glenn launches. Does that make sense?
And that, I mean, that is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always been kind of amused by the way I understand like SpaceX's logistics are in terms of like building everything out there in California, shipping it to McGregor, and it's really funny whenever they have a launch from California and they send it
Yeah.
right back there. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's back and forth. I think originally the company, if they would have gone back in time, I don't think they would have changed anything. I think they really like the setup of headquarters in Seattle, development testing and BE3 testing in Texas, because it's so remote. We can do anything we want down here. Like we don't have to worry about alerting the city that there's going to be ordnance or loud noises or things like that. But the Huntsville facility is really great for very planned, very particular testing cases that we know things are probably going to go right, that we can expect the behavior of it. So that's why I think it's good we have what we have. But yeah, the New Glenn rocket itself is manufactured in Florida. So all of the components, the fairing, the tanks, all of that is manufactured on the Florida site. So the only thing we're shipping over there is the B4s, the B3Us too, in that system.
Yeah, at the end of May, whenever they were having the launching the two astronauts to, we decided to drive from Houston over to Florida to watch that,
Yeah,
and it got scrubbed the first day, but the second day, the visitor center for the Kennedy Space Center opened,
yeah,
and we went to go see that, and it's just amazing, like those huge Blue Origin buildings right there.
they're
It's
really
like
fancy.
it's a little overwhelming, you're
Yeah.
like, I thought the Kennedy Space Center was here someplace.
Did you see the, I don't know how much it was built back then, but did you see the water tower or the launch tower built up?
I don't remember seeing, I only remember seeing those two really huge buildings right outside
Yeah.
the visitor center.
Yeah. So the if you ever get a chance, look up a video of the water tower. Is just insane. I think it's the tallest, unnecessarily tallest water tower in the world is just going to be at our launch facility. They're really planning it out, man. The amount of thought and work that has gone into the New Glenn launch and that entire facility is just insane. Every time we get an email about it, I'm just like, glad I'm not working on it because it has been in the works forever. And if I try to dive into it, it would take years to catch up on all that stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's I look forward to seeing more of the news events every time we see a new Shepard flight, we're like, yay. And
Yeah,
um
it's awesome.
yeah, but going back to how you got into aerospace, I didn't quite catch the name of the student organization that you were a part of.
Yeah, I think that now I don't know if the club is still around. I've been out of it for almost a year and a half now. I think COVID really hit it really hard, but it's student space systems. It was started in 2014. There's still a website up, I'm pretty sure, but they originally did hybrid development with paraffin wax, and I don't know what oxidizer they use, but then we started doing nitrous oxide and ethanol for our liquid engine. And we got all the way up to the part where we were about to start hot fire testing, and there's little complications with trying to set up at the airport and be safe. So all the students were far enough away and everything was going to be good. But it was really interesting. It was my first ever exposure to aerospace. And again, I really thought that it was like you just had to know, because I'd met so many people like that even in high school they were like, I'm going to be an astronaut, and it's just, I no, I can't do that. But it was really great. It felt like the culmination of all the things I enjoyed in engineering, all the challenges of engineering, like the rigorous high safety standards part of engineering combined into one industry. And I think that's what I liked the most about that club, is that you couldn't just, build whatever impeller you wanted because it looked cool. You actually had all this information at your fingertips on what designs had worked, how you could simulate it, maybe an ANSYS, how you could mathematically prove it by hand. It feels like a really powerful skill to have, is understanding aerospace engineering.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting about, it sounds like you're talking about creating a computer simulation, comparing that to the actual physical system
Yeah,
and kind of seeing where the gaps are.
yeah, yeah. We only did cold flow testing with the impeller, but I think in my main coursework in mechanical engineering, because I'm a mechanical engineer, we learned a lot more about how that testing can benefit teams than the aerospace engineer kids did. So when I came in, and everyone kind of had the general idea of, yeah, we want to use computer simulations for stress testing or fluid testing, but we don't really understand what values we're trying to get out of it. That was really helpful to have mechanical engineers there, because we were like, all we do is make beam bending simulations and stress simulations. So it was really cool. I would say I've had more experience with that in industry than I did through that club. I've done a lot of handwork trying to guess fluid flows or pressures, temperatures at certain points in like a test article, and then going out and seeing that and then working backwards and trying to understand what those gaps in the knowledge were. And sometimes it was just simply that, there were incorrect assumptions made about the parameters that were put into the computer simulation, rather than something wonky happening with the actual physical test apparatus, but it's a really powerful tool to have, is to understand the marriage of the computer simulation and the real world application.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's amazing. I'm just you know, Jeff likes to say, you know, uh, slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And from an outside observer, um, we see all this hiring by Origin, and the new Shepherd thing was really getting excited there, but it seems like it kind of is it's taken a pause, maybe because of the whole Artemis program and Vulcan and everything else that's in the works. Um, but having gotten in touch with like several Blue Origin people, and just the constant hiring you see on LinkedIn, I mean, I just I just can't wait to see more. It's just
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah, it's frustrating being an internal employee, and I understand why we don't need to publicize things as much, because we're privately funded. We aren't trying to raise money for the company or anything. We don't really need to rely upon people's opinion on Reddit, specifically that website. But yeah, it's frustrating to know all the cool stuff we're doing and not be able to really talk about it openly. But trust me, whenever there's a video that's released, the entire company, we've got a whole group chat internally with the company, and everyone's like, did you send it, everyone, send it to your family, send it on Facebook, send it. It's really cool whenever we do decide to release information about things. Or
Yeah,
launches.
definitely. Um, I think a lot of people probably have just the opposite kind of experience with aerospace careers as you do. A lot
Mhm,
of people probably grew up early on, hey, we're going to explore space and I want to be a part of that.
mhm,
And then through like middle school and especially high school and then definitely in college, maybe their aspirations get a little bit more grounded, and they're like told to go into something a little bit you know more common or down to earth or what have you.
mhm.
uh I guess, is that your observation as well, or?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely generational things too. I work with some people that grew up definitely feeling the effects of the space race. It was something that they grew up being passionate about, and they were, walking encyclopedias of all rockets that have been launched ever, and when they were launched, and what engines were in development. And I think that for a lot of people, it's really intimidating to try to enter this industry, specifically because it's hard when you have a personality like that, that's your whole life, and you love this industry, to not let that be like an intimidating thing, to not see someone come in and be like, what do you mean you don't know what this acronym means? Like, what do you mean you can't tell me everything about this launch program? Like, what is Skylab? Like, why don't you know what this is? And I think that with my incoming generation, there's still a lot of people like that grew up with space, but I think that if to be like that, you had to live in a certain area, or you had to have your parents generationally were also interested in that and made you interested in that. But there's so many people my age that are now interested in space for kind of similar reasons, that I'm 22, by the way, that they were kind of curious about it and were really encouraged much later on in life to be interested in it. And I think that it's kind of, the older generation has to just give up and give in, because they're like, well, who else are we going to hire? Because there's so little people that this was everything for them. Like, not everyone grows up with the space books around them, and the cool constellation on your ceiling and everything like that. So I think it's definitely been a forceful change for some people in the industry to recognize that not everyone is going to come in with the same amount of knowledge. But on the other side, there's been so many inspirational and kind people to me in this industry that did grow up like that. And instead of seeing someone that was unaware and getting upset and saying, why don't you know this? Like, you're a poser, like, you don't know what you're talking about. They were instead like, oh my God, like, let's watch all the movies. Like, let's do all this. Like, what do you not know? What can I teach you about? Like, what can I tell you? And I think that's really common in aerospace. You kind of have to be a nerd and a very happy nerd to want to work in here. I don't think you last very long in the aerospace industry if you're not a happy nerd and like a painfully optimistic nerd. Or maybe that's biased because Blue Origin only hires painfully happy, optimistic nerds. But that's very much so been the experience, is that I think if I encountered more people that kind of looked at me and said, you don't know what any of this means. You can never start learning. It's too late to learn. I might have given up. I think me personally, if someone tells me to give up, I only want to do things more, which is the same with my engineering career. Even when I was younger and I wanted to be an engineer, I lived in a neighborhood where I was told by other parents, like, are you sure you don't want to just be a nurse? Like, don't you want to be something more feminine? And I was like, no, I can build like robots or something. Like, I just want to do this. So I think that me specifically, I was kind of unfazed by the general group of people I've met throughout telling me yes or no, you should do something. It just, if I want to do it, I'm here and I'm doing it. But there's been a change in people's attitudes of they need help. There's the community and the industry is aging. People are retiring faster. So they just have to realize it's different. They grew up differently. People grew up instead of with watching launches, they grew up with video games like Outer Worlds or like other space games, you know? So it's different. It's fun. People are nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just talking about being a painfully optimistic nerd.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful characterization. I've never heard that before, but it's
Yeah.
fantastic. But I mean, I could definitely feel like the enthusiasm that you have. It's contagious, and I just feel like, if like high schoolers and middle schoolers and people in college were exposed more to like your enthusiasm, you would have like an army of people entering into this field.
I'm trying. I volunteer before COVID. Me and a lot of the Blue Origin people, there's a school in this town. We volunteered almost every week. We'd go to career fairs. We do free after school ACT tutoring, SAT tutoring. A lot of employees do the robotics club. But even when I was in college, I tried to do that a lot. Even when I didn't know as much about aerospace, I understood the importance of, younger girls even seeing someone that looked like them. Even if I didn't come in the room and I was like, the most knowledgeable person about the space program, I always made sure to go to those events where we had elementary school girls or middle school kids coming in and seeing it's not all, the same cookie cutter, and it's not a bad thing that there's kind of always been white guys in this industry. So to go into a room as a young kid and see, oh, I'm not a white guy, how can I enter this industry? And then there's me like clapping and cheering. I think it has really affected people. But yeah, that is a really big goal of mine, is to continue to be involved in things like that. And actually, right after we're done with this call, I am going to go do a recruiting event for underrepresented college students across America are coming to Blue Origin in about a half hour to talk about what it's like to be non-neurotypical, or what it's like to have ADHD and want to work in aerospace, those types of things. So I, very funnily, I am doing that in a half hour.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there's any like virtual or events that are open to the general public that you do, I hope you send them to me. We have one, I think she's about 10
Yeah.
years old, girl in our North Houston Space Society chapter, and she wants to be an astronaut and
Oh,
things
that's so
like that.
awesome.
And I think her having like seeing people like you kind of
Yeah.
in different fields, and also maybe plant the seed that there's so much exciting parts in it besides just the astronaut part. I mean, that's cool. Don't
Yeah.
don't downplay that, but you might be limiting yourself if you're not looking at the full breadth of
Yeah,
options.
and it's hard. I mean, I just listened to a podcast about Jocelyn Elders, who was the oh God, Surgeon General like 30 years ago in the United States. And she was a sharecropper's daughter and had like no money to her name. And just once she saw someone as like a lab technician. And for some reason, the first Black woman she ever saw as a lab technician, that was like her thing. And she wanted to do that. And as she grew up, she's like, oh, I don't have to be a lab tech, I can be a doctor. She just didn't realize that you could also be a doctor. So that's one thing I like to emphasize too, especially when we go to the school here, is that you don't have to be an aerospace engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, and you don't have to be an engineer. I emphasize that you can be a business person and work in the aerospace industry. There's so many contributions to the world that come out of aerospace engineering that it's not limited to strictly engineering itself. So you can be patent law, you can be just a good public speaker and communicate the ideas that the company is bringing to the outer world. You could be, we have, I mean, my janitors, some of the people that work on just cleaning up the facility are some of our most valued employees there. I mean, I hang out with Bundy and Bundy's kids at school because they're so great people, and they contribute to the vision and the mission too. And I think that's something that even in high school, I really emphasized that. I created a club called, I think it was GEMS, where we wanted to focus on taking girls' interest in topics they were already aware of and trying to find how they could grow those skills and emphasize them in a field that interested them, rather than there was kind of felt like a push. Okay, you like science, you should be a doctor, and just no other words past that. And it kind of felt like pushing someone into a box so much that they would be hurt by it and be totally turned off by the idea of any STEM whatsoever. So yeah, if you show younger people that, you don't have to be one or two things in order to do cool things, it's really important to say, like, your skills can be developed. You can use your awesome brain and the gifts you've been given and the gifts that you can grow yourself to help out these industries and help out the world. But that was very long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Um, so, the 1990s were a very transformational period for me,
Hmm.
and for the internet and what have you. I mean, in 1990 itself,
Hmm.
there were so few people that had computers. The internet wasn't really a thing unless you were in the university. People dialed into BBSs on landlines, and nobody had cell phones and
Yeah.
stuff like this. And you would probably have an easier time explaining to people uh, why astronauts float in the International Space Station than explaining to them email and websites, because
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
time. But by 2000, pretty much everybody had computers, everybody was connected to the internet, everybody knew what email was, everybody, all the major companies had websites, and it was just like a hugely transformational period. I mean, um, it would be hard to imagine this COVID thing at the early 1990s. That would have been
Yeah.
quite a bit different.
Everyone
Um,
would definitely be losing their minds then.
I bring that up as a comparison with the 2020s and space exploration, because I feel like that we kind of have forces, well, like Blue Origin, and with Artemis, and with like the other commercial lunar payload services program, and Virgin Galactic, and I could keep going on and on and on. I feel like that the 2020s are going to be the space exploration what the 1990s were to the internet. And I was wondering if you had the same feeling, or if you think that was overly optimistic.
No, I love, first of all, I love overly optimistic. I think aerospace industry has this challenge where there's enough people that say they don't think it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. But when you have those people that are like, no, it's going to happen and it's going to happen tomorrow, then it really does inspire people, and it really does make them want to push forward. If you have no deadlines, and if you have this constant idea if it's never going to happen, I mean, we're going against gravity, very literally. We're fighting the forces, the natural forces of the earth. It's pretty incredible work. But yeah, I think that the ability of the internet, even in and of itself, has heightened the public's interest so significantly in aerospace, and especially in these privatized corporate spaces. I don't hate SpaceX, and I actually really like that I can meet people on the street, and if I'm wearing a Blue Origin hat, they'll be like, that's not SpaceX. Like, I like that, because it's like, what do you do for work? And it's almost never aerospace related. It's someone that has really found an interest in what it is we do, and watching the launches, and understanding, okay, well, why is their technology good? Why would technology objectively be bad? How can we improve these types of things, and how do I understand it? And just like you said, you knew someone that worked in a separate industry that was thinking about changing over. I really think that the internet age currently, as it is and as it stands, helps to get more people very involved and very hopeful, just as it was when we first went to the moon. People were very interested in it, maybe for bad reasons, because we wanted to get there before Russia. But now it's fun, it's cool, it's something that you can talk about with a stranger, maybe not now, at the grocery store. It's something that you can talk to your doctor about, and they'll understand because they watch it in their free time, or their child has a new Lego set that they wanted to get off of like a ULA launch. Like, it's very, very cool. And I really believe that having the public backing and the public interest in it, especially with people that are very interested in politics, and like a lot of people my age are very interested in pushing politics forward and what's in the best interest for the public. I think that that huge interest that's been garnered with this exposure over the internet will really help with pushing space exploration. I really think that people just talking about it and letting it live in their minds really, really, really pushes forward everyone's motivation to keep it working. If you were working in this industry and you went to the grocery store and said, I work for Blue Origin, and everyone just kind of blankly stared at you, well, then the next week you're going to go back to work and be like, I don't know what I do for work. Like, this is so boring. But when you get so many people that are so passionate about what you're doing, it really reflects in the industry itself. There's so many people that work at old space, new space combined that are now so invigorated by this talk and by all of the massive hype that has been built up online. I really think it pushes forward everyone to work their hardest. And I really think everything is totally in reach. I mean, I'm sure if you asked the people that worked down here, if we could launch New Glenn tomorrow, they would all say, yeah, because they're just like, give me the things to do it and I will do it. If I have the knowledge, I will do it. If I don't have the knowledge, I will build upon that and I will make myself a better engineer. And I think that in the next 10 years, yeah, I really do think I've told my parents, like, we're going to go back to the moon. We're going to have people there. It's going to be just like all the books and movies you've read growing up. It's going to be incredible stuff. And once you get the ball rolling, it's rolling. You can't stop it. It's like an avalanche. But yeah, I am incredibly optimistic for all of this, especially looking around at the people around me and seeing how talented, how smart, and how level-headed they are, and understanding everyone's kind of in this for a very objectively a great thing, and they're not in it for self-interest. They're not in it for money. They want to go back to space, and it's really cool. It's a cool time to be alive.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, when did you find out we were planning to go back to the moon?
Is it embarrassing if I say I always thought we were going to go back to the moon? I don't think, because I wasn't ever really up to date on interest and that kind of stuff, I think it probably would have been not long after they announced, and someone probably told me and I didn't really understand. But I think I had always thought we had some plan to do that. Why wouldn't we have some sort of plan to do that? So I don't think I could even pinpoint the exact time. I remember it. I think if someone told me, I probably wasn't surprised, and it didn't occur to me that it was like the plan to do it. It probably occurred to me as like, well, yeah, of course we are. But yeah, I don't think I can pinpoint that time.
Would it surprise you that most of the non-space people I talk to don't know about it?
Really? No, that surprises me. Huh. Did they think the same thing as me? Did they think that we were just going to go back no matter what? Or did they think it was just kaput and we were never going to do it?
Most of the people didn't know there were firm plans to go back in 2024. Some people, I've even talked to one person that said that they thought everything was shut down in 2011 with the retirement of the shuttle, I did talk to another person that said, isn't that where the astronauts go? Like, aren't we going there now?
They're up there. It's fine. They're there. Yeah, well, huh. Wow, man. I guess that just means I'll just have to keep being excited and keep telling people.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Huh. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think it'll only get better. There's been quite a lot of growth of internet celebrities, like, if you know what TikTok is, there's a lot of TikTok stars that are very interested in talking about space and teaching young kids about space. I feel like I meet more high school age kids or teenagers that know about the space program than I do adults, which is maybe a part of being young, is that you're very excited and you're very hopeful. But there's quite a growth in younger celebrities that talk about this stuff, and they really want people to know, like NASA Blueberry Girl, and those types of like that era of people that really want to raise awareness. So I don't know, maybe I'll go ask my high school friends, see what they think.
Yeah, or you could send them my link and I can ask them for you.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to post that in the group. Can I find that on your LinkedIn page? Do you have it posted?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty out there. It's like the thing. But yeah, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's I think I guess I don't have it up there. Ah, I just have the little banner "Humans to the Moon," but I can text you.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I'll post it in those groups. And I'm sure people would love to do that, especially other Blue employees. People again, optimistically, painfully happy nerds.
Yeah, it's awesome. Um, Actually, I don't think we're connected on LinkedIn, so I'll just connect with you,
Yay,
and I can send you that link as well.
awesome.
Um, let's see. So if you could go to space, would you?
Yes. I think the pact, we both work at Blue Origin. We've known each other before Blue Origin. He's the person that introduced me into aerospace. I think our blood pact is we both have to go. And now we have a dog. So I'm assuming the dog has to go too. But yeah, I would definitely go for any reason whatsoever. I think I'd be a little disappointed if we already had fully colonized the moon and it was like the situation of Artemis, if you've read the Artemis book by the same guy who
Uh-huh.
wrote Martian, where we already have like a thriving society and there's like industrial production on the planet. I think I'd be a little disappointed that I wasn't like out there like building something. I don't know, helping a robot build something, but yes, heartbeat, I'd go.
That is awesome. And I know you had that other event to go to. Um, I did want to tell you one thing is I don't think I have the micro. Oh, yeah, here we are. Uh, I'm I got a micro SD card, 1 TB,
Yeah.
and I'm planning to put all these videos on them. And I bought the DHL Moonbox from Astrobotic.
Oh,
So
cool.
this will actually go on the Astrobotic mission, which is flying on the first Vulcan rocket, right? Which is going to have the
Oh my God.
BE-4 engine. Uh,
That's so cool.
so
You can do it again, and we can just have like a sisterhood of the traveling pants where we also send it up in New Shepard, and then the
oh,
next launch, and then New Glenn, and it'll just go up forever and ever until we launch on the next Voyager, and it therefore someone can pick it up. That's so cool.
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you have to go. Did you have any like closing comments or anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm just really happy you're doing this. I think it's really cool. Do you feel like you've been encouraged or discouraged by doing these interviews? Do you feel more excited or less excited?
I mean, at times it's a mix.
Yeah.
I would say it's been a hugely valuable thing for me from a personal growth perspective, just to
Mhm.
hear people's perspectives. It's like, you kind of go around the world thinking that either people are thinking exactly like you or thinking exactly opposite of you,
Mhm.
but there's so many gradations between those two.
Yeah.
And I think through the 300 and plus interviews I've done so far,
Oh, that's really
um,
cool.
getting to explore how people see the world and seeing, people are really logical. It's just they're working from a different set of experiences and facts. And when they don't kind of embrace what you have, it's because they're coming from a different place.
Yeah.
So,
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool to learn. I should share this. I'll share this with my brother. He's a freshman in material science. I'll share it with him and see if he shares it with his friends. Have you been generally getting people every single day? Have there been days when you haven't gotten someone or
since the time I started the project in December of 2019, I have not missed a day.
that
Now,
is so awesome. Well, I'm very honored I got to be one of your people. That's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah. I would really recommend trying the video game thing, by the way, even if you're gonna join like any sort of video game. It doesn't have, I guess Among Us is the most popular game right now, but that doesn't have voice chat. If you were to join a Call of Duty lobby and just say, who wants to talk about space? I bet you $1 million that you would get a ton of people very excited to hear you. In lieu of, face to face, in lieu of seeing people on the street. But yeah, that's really cool. Thank you so much for your time. This has been really fun. I hope that I gave you some of my optimism and, like happiness, I guess.
oh no, definitely. I'll be
Good.
glowing for the rest of the day and probably the
Yay!
rest of the week too. So
Yay! Pass it on. Pass it on. People need it.
I'll do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.